When it comes to microeconomics, in the microeconomics, there are two main concepts. Because microeconomics consists of two parts: consumer and producer. Consumer are those that have a demand for buying and using something. And producer are those economics agents that have something to supply. That have something to supply. So then when we analyze and explain the demand side, so we try to study consumer. And when we try to explain the supply side, we need to study how producers are making decisions in the market. How producers are making decisions in the market. So in order to know the other detailed concept in microeconomics, first we need to know the decision-making procedure of demander or consumer and supplier, which is producer. So when they combine together, we will have market. When they combine together, we have market. So in the market, we have producer, we have consumer, both of them. We have producer and we have consumer. So then when we are going to analyze our market, there is two important tools for analyzing the market. The first one is to study the equilibrium. Like general equilibrium, partial equilibrium that you may cover maybe after midterm exam. And the second thing that we need to analyze how supplier and demander interact together in the labor in the market is game theory. How they interact together. Because when we study consumer theory, we study consumer in isolation to producer. We just think about consumer. We say nothing about producer here. We say, okay, how consumer maximize utility, and there is nothing about producer. But when we study producer theory, we only think about supply side. We never think about demand side, which is consumer. So we explain that in isolation. But how about market? When we explain market, so what will we do? What is our main purpose? Because we already explained consumer theory, producer theory. Why do we need to study market? Because in the market, there is consumer, there is producer, both of them. Already we know how they make decisions. And then why we need to study market? Any idea? Why we need to study market? Already we know how consumer make decision, how producer make decision. But still we are trying to study market as well. In the market. Okay, Levi. When we explain consumer, producer, then why we need to know about market? Yeah.
The nature of the market defines how the supply and how the demand is. So without knowing market, we try to think choice usually also.
Mhm.
Because all of them are.
Yeah.
So for example, if we talk in terms of market, as you said, platform market,
Yeah.
you understand is fairly different from, for example, the market of service.
Yeah.
Fairly different, for example, from the market of labor, supply and labor demand. So the market show us like the nature of the demand.
Yeah.
I mean, like reveal some like some point to help us to understand the actors.
Yeah. So basically, why we need to study market? Because when we study consumer and producer in isolation without considering their interaction, mostly we assume that there is a perfect competitive market. But it's not always true. You know that. For example, when we talk about market, there is oligopoly, there is monopoly, there's competitive monopoly, and there's competitive market. So in each market structure, we need to adjust our decision making in order to maximize our utility. And producer need to adjust their behavior in order to maximize their profit. And market is the place that consumer and producer interact together. So they cannot make decision in isolation. Okay, as a consumer, I want to maximize my utility by consuming apple, like banana, like kebab, and what some other foods. But there is no restaurant. All of them are closed. Can I do it? And there is no raw material in the shop. Can I do it? No. Yeah. Although, okay, I'm maximizing my utility by using these types of goods in my like eating material, but when there's not possible, so there is no like consumer. So in order to know how they interact, we need to analyze market. We need to analyze market. Like when we analyze equilibrium, it means when the quantity of demand will be equal to the quantity of supply in the market. Will be equal to and the quantity of supply in the market. Why we need to study game theory? Because in the game theory, the big lesson that teaches how each player should make decision in order to maximize the overall utility of the players. Yeah? In the game theory, for example, there's two players. There's a supplier and there's a demander. So there's Levi a supplier and Sidra is the one that would want to buy. Sidra and Levi, they are two players in this market. And each of them want to get the maximum utility or benefit, profit, whatever you say, the maximum possible. So you want to have the maximum. As a supplier, you want to have the maximum profit. As a demander, she wants to make the maximum of utility. So there should be some framework to adjust these two things. Why? Because if you maximize your profit in isolation, so somehow it may reduce the utility of Sidra. And when Sidra's utility reduces, so she will not buy. When she is not going to buy, then you cannot sell. Then at that time, who will get more? No one. Why no one? You try to maximize your utility, your profit, without considering her utility as a consumer. But she as a consumer want to maximize her utility. And now when she see that you are only taking care of yourself as a producer and you want to charge as much as possible, then she will not buy. When she's not going to buy, so the utility will be zero. And when you are not going to sell, the profit will be how much? 0. So how then you will decide? You will decide to interact each other and to make decision in some point that you are both of or you are satisfied. That means you're happy, you're happy. So in the case of game theory, we want to find out that when both players are happy, although you cannot make as much as you want, and she cannot get as much as utility that she wants, but at least both of you are happy. So why we need to study game theory is to find out when both parties, both demander and suppliers, they get what they want from the market. So the first concept that mostly we need to cover in the microeconomic theory is consumer theory. This one. A very simple question. Why we need to cover first consumer? Why not producer? Why we start microeconomics by studying consumer theory first rather than producer theory? Because if you remember, I said last week, profit itself is a kind of utility. Yeah? And utility of consumer is a kind of pure utility. So in order to know like the further concept, first we need to know some pure concept first. So that's why we cover mostly consumer theory first. There are some like basic things that we need to know in consumer theory. We have this agent. In the case of consumer theory, agent means consumer or it means individual. So the activity, we have activity, but activity is consume a whole set of commodities, goods and services that we focus on L commodities. And this L consists of L, small l, start from 1 to L. We just explain as a set. So L can be this L. This L can be 100. This L can be 10,000. It depends on each person. It can be 100,000. How many goods that you want to consume? So why we just only write L? Because the last L is not like a specific for us, because everyone can have different number of goods. So then there's a framework, and that framework is our consumption set, X. So as a set of all alternative or consumption bundle that the consumer can conceive, whether some of them will be achievable in practice or not. So when we say consumption set, we say that X is a subset of R L. Why do you think? Why there is no plus? X is a subset of RL. Although we said that we cannot consume negative amount of something. So then the thing is, so here you start minus infinity, positive infinity, this is 0. This is 0. So when we say X is a subset of RL, so it means this part is a subset. So then the next thing, X is an element, this X, small x, as element of the bigger X, which is consumption set, which specify the amount of different commodities that we consume with this X. So this X is the consumption. So X1 can be orange. X2 can be apple. XL can be like banana. For example, suppose we have only 3x here. So these are the consumption element that we have. So, but now, if you see here, when we define consumption set, we say that consumption bundle X living. Why sometimes we write this X as a bold letter? So what this X, both of them are X, but this is in a bold letter, this is just like normal X. Mm-hmm.
A small x,
I don't mean small and big, I mean the bold letter. Normal and bold. You see, this X is a bold. This X is just a normal, so just leave that. So this X, so let me show you another slide. You see, this X is a bold. This X, X1, X2, XL, they're just like a kind of normal one. Yeah, that's correct. So this X, we say in microeconomics vector. It means inside that X, there's another small x, or another element. So it means in this X, there can be X1, X2, X3. There can be orange, apple, banana, and many other things. So, and there's the things. Non-negative. It means this X is equal to RL plus. So what is the difference between this one? X is equal to RL plus. X is a subset of RL. X is equal to RL plus. X is a subset of RL. So here, you see, I define X is equal to RL plus. But here, I said X is a subset of RL. What is the difference of both things? Both of them say exactly the same thing. But in the lecture, maybe sometimes you will have this one, sometimes you will have this one. So it means the thing is, you should not confuse with that. Both of them exactly the same thing. So it means if X is exactly RL plus, it means it just consider non-negative value of RL. And when we say X is a subset, so it means there is 0, there is minus infinity, there is positive infinity. And both of them, when we say X is RL plus, it means both of them consider this area. X is equal to RL plus, and X is a subset of RL. Why subset? Because the whole set include minus to positive. So the whole set is RL. So it's starting from minus infinity to positive infinity, all of them. This area is a subset. That area is also a subset. So when we say X is a subset of RL, so it means we only think about this area, about the non-negative one. So you see now, at least one of the things that we can use our idea of using set theory in microeconomics is this one. In your lecture also you have this set. How you can explain this one? How you can explain this set? Mm-hmm.
This is consumption usual,
Mm-hmm.
and this transformation by, let me say, from 1 to n, just kind of as we go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of X,
Yeah.
there's many kind of
Yeah.
these commodities that so
Yeah. So, Sidra, what is the difference between this big set and this one? 1, 2. What is the difference between these two? Do we have equal sign? What is the difference between the two? How? Yeah, also equal also RL plus to X. So how, in terms of explanation or concept, is there any difference? So for example, I can say like this, RL, then I can say it's equal to like some X, and or just I can say like this, X and R, such that X is less than and equal to positive infinity, greater than and equal to negative infinity. Is there any difference? No, exactly the same thing. So when we say RL, it means we means from minus infinity to positive infinity, all of them. Or when we say this one, there is no L. You see, here we have RL, yeah, but we don't have any L here. So instead of L, I explain by this way, started from minus infinity to positive infinity. You see? So it means this L is equal to minus infinity to positive infinity. So here I just write RL, here just write instead of L, X is less than or equal to positive infinity, greater than or equal to negative infinity. So, but in order to make it easier, so we just write down X is equal to RL plus. And why we need this set in order to explain what that RL plus means to us. This RL plus means X, and X is consumption bundle. And in this consumption bundle, at least we should have one element. You can have more elements, but at least there should be one element. If there's no element, so then we have empty set. So then either two, you write this one, you write this one, you write this one, all of them exactly the same thing. So here, you see here we have RL plus. RL plus. So inside this set, Levi, can you say inside this set how we can explain plus? Which term inside this set explain the plus sign of this RL to us? This one. So instead of plus, inside the set, we write XL as less than and equal to 0. That means it's considered 0 and also the positive things. It means non-negative. So instead of L, which term can explain in this set this L? This part. You see, this set is a kind of detail of RL plus. So it means if we think about RL plus, it means positive or either 0. And L can be from 1 to L, bigger L, and bigger L can be like positive infinity, can be plus 100, can be plus 10,000. It depends on each person. You're consuming more or less. Okay. When we think about consumption, say there are some properties. It means there is non-negativity. So, Sidra, why non-negativity should be one of the properties of consumption? Why there should be plus? Why there's not plus plus? Why there's not just RL? That we have RL plus. Why we have RL plus? Yeah, we cannot consume. Excess closed set, it includes its boundary. Why, Levi? Why our consumption set should be closed? That means it should include the boundary. This boundary and this boundary should, both of them should be included in our set.